Hi, welcome back, and I thought I'll go back to my very first drift car. This is my original drift car, the Tamiya TT-02D, which I pretty much finished modifying, done all I want, and this is pretty much as good as you can get, well, for me, without replacing everything else like the alloy and part. But I don't think that's going to make that much of a difference. But I'm keeping this as it is, as a 50-50 car. Now, first thing I want to point out is I recently upgraded the shocks to MSD TR56 shocks. And this shock is really good. I mean, the first thing that you'll notice that, it looks very much like a TRF shocks, same color, same blue color, similar design, similar shape, and the sizing is just right as well. 56 means it's about 56 mil length, and most Tamiya touring cars is about 55 mil, so it's slightly taller. And the best part about them is come with these big bore damper spring. They are larger than normal. They're larger than Tamiya. It's comparable to the Tamiya big bore damper, and they're super smooth. See that? I'm just tapping it. I mean, it can be even smoother than that if I get a softer spring. Now, so it comes with soft springs already. So if you ever want to upgrade your damper, I highly recommend you get the MSD one instead of the TRF. The TRF damper from Tamiya, the springs that comes with it's too hard, and you don't get this oil damper here. I mean the mineral oil. So I find that this mineral oil is way smoother. It doesn't have any binding issue at all. What I mean by the binding issue is that you see here when I lift the car up, the car will naturally go back to its original damper position. With the Tamiya damper, usually doesn't do that. I think it's because of using the silicone oil. Whereas when you use these mineral oil, it seems to go back to its resting position much nicer. And I think it's to do with the O-ring as well. So if you ever want to switch your TRF damper to make it as smooth as this, you need to switch to mineral oil, and also you need to switch to the damper O-ring, to these blue ones here. Otherwise, you can't use the silicone O-ring that comes with the TRF dampers because, I don't know, it will bind. So enough about the dampers, let's move on. Next thing I have to modify this car is that you'll need is this thing here. This is the camber adjustment for the front and the rear. So the camber I have for the front is about one degree camber. I actually use 1 degree all around, 1 degree camber on the rear as well. You don't need a lot of camber, not for a four-wheel drive car, four-wheel drive 50-50, because we don't use a lot. It doesn't come with a lot of caster, and you don't need a lot of steering either. Like when you drift this car, usually you'll notice that the car will only probably turn about that much steering on each side. You rarely see it at full lot, but still, as much a steering angle as you can get is good, to correct yourself. And when you do adjust your camber, take very good note of your tire wear. You can see here, for example, there's no tire wear on the outer edge, so it means that it's not really touching the outer edge at all. So this means I need to reduce my camber. So I'm probably a little off because on the other side it's pretty good. You can see there's tire wear around the outer edge. It may be a little less wear on the inner edge, so I need to adjust it slightly more camber on this side and less camber on that side. So I need to work on my accuracy there. Whereas the tire wear on the back is pretty good. So maybe a little less camber on the back here. So, and with the front, I'm using about 3-degree toe. 3-degree toe out. So toe out means the front wheel is pointing that way. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I'm using 3-degree. I don't normally use that much toe out, but I kind of need it for this 4-wheel drive car because it helps swing the rear a bit for a lot more oversteering. Without the toe out, I find it quite difficult. So the more toe out you have, the more the car will swing around, really. But with my other drift cars, like my counter steer, I normally use about 0 toe. But this one here, I use a lot of toe. Like 3 degrees is quite a bit of toe, and you probably don't want to use any more than that. Now moving on, well, you see I got my steering here. The steering, you need these steering links adjustment in order to adjust the toe, so you need to upgrade that. I am using the TT-02 Type S steering links here. It was just something I'm trying out. I thought it would be better, but if you were to replace your steering wipers here to the aluminium ones, you should probably stick to the original TT-02 steering wiper, not the TT-02 Type S. But they're both good. I mean, they'll provide, just as much steering. Steering, it's more for the feel, not for the angle. And one thing you should notice that I am using, I'm not sure if you can see it. There it is. I'm using Year Racing 38mm, what do you call it? Universal joints. So it's 38, the Tamiya recommends 39mm, but you need the 38mm at the front because the 39mm is slightly too long, and Year Racing universal joints much cheaper, so it's a win-win. But on the back here, I am using the Tamiya universal joints here because it's blue and it's lighter weight. It's aluminium as well. Yeah, but you should probably stick with aluminium is much better. You can use aluminium on both front and rear, but Tamiya don't make 38mm on the front. Otherwise I would use aluminium both on front and rear for lighter weight. So at the rear here as well, I'm using the stock upright here, so I'm not, it's 0 toe, which is fine. It's good. You don't need toe on the 4-wheel drive here, so stick with the 0 toe. It will handle better. And what else? Right, so I'm using a 15.5T brushless with about I think it was a 22 pinion, and I'm using the high-speed gear set as well, and the aluminium motor mount. So at 15.5 brushless, it's actually on the slower side. So my have this here. So my gear setting is actually the same here. It's at 8.0 to 1 gear ratio. If you want more speed, you'll go a lower tooth pinion, but with more speed, it does make the car a bit more twitchy on the throttle. With a higher sorry, with the lower gear ratio, you have way more control of the throttle. So it's completely up to you. I would recommend probably around the middle, which is what I'm using. I mean, factory gear setting is fine as well, so you don't actually need to change your pinion and spur gear. I've just changed it anyway because, you know, I was trying to find an excuse to spend money on the car. Right, what else? I think that's it. Oh, I guess the damper setting. So the damper setting here, you notice I'm using on the most outer edge hole at the front, sorry, at the back, and also at the front here. Reason for that is if I put it on the inner side, the damper becomes less responsive. I think it becomes too inclined, too horizontal. So I'm just keeping it at the very top here. I mean, the damper feels a lot better, a lot more responsive. I mean, ideally, you want the front one to be softer. So you want the front to be on the inside. So the front should be softer than the rear because this is a 50-50. Otherwise, you would want the rear to be softer than the front. But at 50-50, it really doesn't matter that much. Just have an even front and rear. So you have a stable, it's still pretty stable. And when I do use the inner damper hole, it makes it too tight, it makes it too stiff. I'm not sure why. I'm suspecting it's because it becomes too horizontal. It's also because the bottom damper position, you know, you can't adjust it, and it's pretty much the front damper position and the bottom is the same. And another thing is the differential. So you should get a lock diff at the back, and this is a front one way at the front. You know, so front one way, the front wheel will spin and then it will lock if you try to reverse it. That's non-negotiable. You need to get a lock diff at the back and front one way at the front. It makes the driving so much better and so much easier to handle. All right, so let's go outside and have a little demo.